Greetings, visionaries, innovators, and change makers. It's my profound pleasure to welcome you to the second Global Speakers Talk Annual Live Conference. My name is JB Herrera, founder and CEO of Insight Driven Business, and I will be your host. Over the next 3 days, we're going to embark on a remarkable journey. It's one filled with knowledge, collaboration, and the powerful exchange of ideas aimed at fostering meaningful change. And I'm driven by a profound purpose: to bridge the divides in our world by uncovering the powerful similarities that unite us. As a lifelong student of philosophy, psychology, and decision-making, I believe that when we come together, extraordinary things become possible. And this spirit inspired me to participate in Global Speakers Talk, a platform dedicated to amplifying voices, sharing meaningful stories, and nurturing ideas that can change the world. You see, for me, speaking is not just about words. It's about connection, empowerment, and the belief that we can all be catalysts for positive change. Global Speakers Talk is a dynamic platform that transcends the traditional boundaries of communication. We empower voices from all walks of life to share their stories and insights. And at the heart of our mission lies a commitment to cultivate that thriving community of speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs who embrace the transformative power of dialogue and collaboration. Now, we've seen many changes in our world in 2024. And beginning today, we are bringing over 20 dynamic speakers from all over the world to share their insights and give you practical processes, systems, recommendations to improve your life, both personally and professionally. This year's conference is focused on unlocking the latent potential within each of us as we delve into transformative topics that resonate deeply with our values and goals. Day one invites you to explore public speaking. This session is not just about mastering the art of communication, it's about harnessing your unique voice to inspire others and drive meaningful conversations. Our speakers will share their wealth of knowledge, equipping you with practical advice that can immediately apply to elevate your speaking prowess. On day two, we're going to confront the challenges of our inner dialogue with overcoming mindset lies to achieve goals. Together, we'll dismantle the barriers that limit our aspirations, fostering a mindset rooted in resilience and integrity. Now, in day three, the culmination of our event, we're going to uncover unlocking the resilience, the secrets to winning life. Here we'll delve into the heart of adaptability, exploring how to thrive amidst adversity and create a sustainable path forward. This session serves as a testament to our collective strength. So, welcome. Thank you very much. And without further ado, let the summit begin. And as we begin today, let's first immerse ourselves in the foundational skill that amplifies our voices and enhances our impact, and that is public speaking. The art of communication is not merely about conveying information, it's about connecting with others, building relationships, and inspiring actions. And to guide us in this exploration, I'm thrilled to introduce our first speaker, a true master of the craft whose extensive experience and innovation and innovative approach to communication has inspired countless individuals. I'd like to provide a warm welcome to our first speaker, Heidi Schalke. So Heidi is a business strategy and visibility coach. She's a best-selling author, speaker, and host of the Be She podcast. She helps entrepreneurs and professionals build and scale 6- and 7-figure businesses. She's been featured on Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the Daily Herald. Please welcome as our first guest in today's 3-day event, Heidi Schalke. Heidi, welcome.
Thank you so much, JB. I'm so excited to be here.
Welcome.
Did you know that 75% of people experience a form of fear or anxiety around public speaking? That's 3 out of every 4 people. I share this with you because if you have a fear or you get anxiety around public speaking or speaking on any stages or just being seen, I want you to know you're not alone. What if I told you that with the right tools, you could transform that fear into confidence and even excitement? You think I'm crazy, right? Well, just hold on, because here we go. Why does confidence speaking even matter? You could be asking me or yourself. Confidence speaking isn't just for keynote speakers or executives. It's for everyone. So whether you're pitching an idea, navigating a challenging or difficult conversation, leading a team, or even making an offer, How you speak can shape how you're seen and how your ideas are perceived and received. Confidence in your voice isn't just about being heard, it's about being remembered. But let's face it, speaking with confidence isn't always easy. A little over 6 years ago, I started my entrepreneurship journey because I was going through a divorce. So during this time, I needed to figure out what I was doing. See, prior to my divorce, I had been a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have to worry about the finances. The home was my job, the finances were his. My kids had me every single day. And not only did they have me at home when they were home and out of school, but they also saw me 2 to 3 days a week at school as well. So now, needing to figure out a way to create an income, I wanted to be able to keep some of the things as much as possible consistent for my children as we navigated this new journey. Part of that was I quickly found my why, which is I wanted to be home with my kids. My children at the time were about 5 and 7, and I found coaching, entrepreneurship. I saw all of these amazing people crushing it online, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Heidi, you found the thing. You are just going to open your doors and you are going to be a huge success just like everybody else. Well, that didn't happen. I quickly realized my biggest fear, and that was the fear of being seen. I was told you get to go live, you get to share your message, and you need to be showing up on video and speaking and telling your story, getting vulnerable. And I was like, heck to the no. Just pushing that live button, the thought of pushing that live button sent huge anxiety and panic throughout my body. My chest would get tight, my throat would close, I would start shaking, and I would start sweating. These were the physical symptoms that would show up for me. Now, through this journey, I had a friend in one of the coaching programs that challenged me to move forward. She gave me a challenge, and that was to go live inside the Facebook group. And I had to do it right then when I accepted the challenge, because she was on the other side of the pond. She was in England, and she was going to be there to support me. That meant I had to do it then. So I pressed the live button, and immediately my throat closed, my chest got tight, I started shaking, and I started sweating. But not only that, I started crying. And this was not a cute, pretty girl cry. This was a bawling out, full on hyperventilation cry. And the anxiety was so intense that a migraine started ensuing. So I got through it. And over the years, I got better and better. And I share my story with you because I want you to know, if you have any of those, you'll never be as bad as I was in that moment. Promise you. And second of all, you're not alone in the things that you're feeling. The speakers here over the next 3 days, many of us are feeling fear. Many of us are feeling anxiety, and the fear may get less. We might get better at it as we hone our skills, but it doesn't mean it always goes away. So many of us struggle with nerves, overthinking, or simply just not even knowing where to start. What do I share? Why would somebody even want to hear from me? And that's what we're here to dive in and tackle today. So let's talk about some roadblocks. The first one I want to talk about is fear, because it's really important we understand what the fear is that's showing up for us in order to be able to move through it. For me, it was fear of judgment. Maybe that's what you have too. What are they going to think about me? What are these moms that I were friends with at my children's school and were with day in and day out? What are they going to think about me? Who is this woman who is a stay-at-home mom, not working, not creating income, and now she's trying to build a business online? What the heck? What fear of ridicule? Are people going to make fun of me? Imposter syndrome. Who am I to even be doing this? Right? There's so many people better than me out there. Perfectionism. Hi, my name is Heidi. I'm a recovering perfectionist. So if that's you, perfectionism stalled me in my tracks because I thought I had to have everything perfect before I put it out there, until I learned messy makes me millions. If you don't know that mantra, write it down, stick it on a sticky, and read it every day. Also, fear of failure. Am I going to fall flat on my face? And on the flip side, some people have fear of success. What if I do crush it? Am I going to be able to maintain that? Are people in my life still going to like me as knowing that I'm creating this success? There's also, if you have any of those, I want you to know what they are, and feel free to share it with us. And then we want to know where that stemmed from. For many of us, it stems from our childhood. For me, I was told growing up, your children are seen and not heard. Well, now as an adult, and I look back on that, if I couldn't be heard, was I really seen? No. For some of you, many of you out there, maybe you had a bold, beautiful, vibrant, outgoing personality, and you were told, you know what, you're just too much. Why don't you go in the background? And why do you always got to be so loud and outgoing, and let little Susie have a turn? Let us know what that is for you as well, if you resonate with any of that. And maybe for some of you, it's a combination of both. Then there's lack of preparation, feeling like you're winging it instead of really owning the stage. There's also physical symptoms of anxiety. For me, as I shared, my chest would get tight. I would shake. My throat would close. I would literally start sweating. And for you, maybe it's sweaty palms or a shaky voice or maybe blanking out. Then there's that fun negative self-talk, right? Why is it that we can talk so badly to ourselves? We would never allow someone else to speak to us that way, but we allow ourselves to speak that way to ourselves. We get to stop doing that. And that comes with believing that you're not good enough or that your message and your voice doesn't matter or it's not worthy. Does any of this sound familiar for you? If you are, again, if it does, again, you're not alone. And the good news is that these challenges are overcomable and conquerable. So how do we move past these barriers? Let's dive into some expert-backed strategies. Preparation is power. And global speaking coach Patricia Fripp says, you don't want to practice until you get it right. You want to practice until you can't get it wrong. Preparation breeds confidence. So whether it's scripting your key points or rehearsing in front of the mirror, make sure you know your material inside and out. And then own your body language. Really, social psychologist Amy Cuddy teaches that the importance of power posing, standing tall with your shoulders back, opening up your, opening up your hands by having an open stance. This not only makes you look confident to your audience, but it also shares with your brain, allows your brain to believe that you are confident. And anchor yourself to manage anxiety. Use deep breathing techniques, or you can focus on small, steady movement like holding a pen or clasping your hands and releasing it. These anchors can ground you in the moment and relax and calm your nervous energy and also your nervous system. And then let's flip that script on those negative talks. We don't get to talk badly about ourselves anymore or to ourselves, right? Instead of saying we want to replace I'm going to mess this up or fall flat on my face with I have something valuable to share. If I can help one person out there with my message, then I've succeeded in my mission. Confidence comes from believing in the worth of your message. Your story, your message, what you want to share matters. Somebody out there needs to hear it. And if you remember nothing from this, then please remember this. Connection trumps perfectionism. Remember, perfect is boring. What makes you unique is what makes people connect with you. Connection is currency. So by connecting with people, you're going to allow your audience to see you as real, and they're going to want to work with you and take those next steps. Brene Brown, a leading voice on vulnerability, reminds us that people don't want perfect speakers. Again, perfect is boring. They want authentic ones. So when you focus on connecting with your audience, whether that's one person or 1,000 people, you'll naturally feel more at ease. It's not about being flawless. It's about being real. So I want to quickly recap on what we chatted about today. And one, preparation. Remember, preparation is power. Know your material and rehearse it until you feel good about it and you own it. Stand tall. Use body language to send a confident message to both your audience and your brain. And ground yourself. Manage your nerves with anchors and deep breathing. And then shift that mindset. Focus on connection, not on getting it perfect. A little key point, people want to see you succeed. So even if you forget what you're talking about, own it, share it, because they're cheering you on. They want to cheer you on. They're there to help you win. And imagine how much more effective, impactful, and fulfilled you'll feel when you can speak with confidence. So whether it's at work, whether it's in your relationship with your loved ones, or on a stage. Your voice is powerful, and it's time to use it with clarity and confidence. And as you do, you just won't find your voice, but you'll help others find theirs also. And if you're ready to take the next step or ready to hone your skills, then the perfect place to start that is with guesting on podcasts. Podcasts are only getting bigger. They're not going away anytime soon. So if you want to practice your skills, get better at your speaking, I promise you by guesting on podcasts, it's a great way to do it. And if you want to grab my free podcasting pitch, you can go to HeidiSchalkeCoaching.com/podcast. I also am the host of the Be She podcast. It stands for Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Empowered. Reach out to me and we can see if you're fit to come on my stage.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Heidi. That was wonderful. What a way to lead off the conference. So powerful, so many great ideas. So please take the opportunity to reach out to Heidi. Take advantage of those really important tips that she's given to us. Thanks, Heidi. Appreciate it.
Thank you, JB.
Now it's my extreme pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Jenn Espinosa-Goswami. She's an ICF certified public speaking coach and founder of Weightless LLC, a former Toastmasters International officer and graduate of the Masters of Leadership program at Oxford University. Jenn helps leaders speak more clearly, consistently, and confidently, there's that word again, on stage or camera. Over the past 10 years, Jenn has presented to thousands of executives and entrepreneurs and was recognized by Influence Digest as the top 15 coaches in Minneapolis. Prior to starting her company, Jenn has served as a certified fraud examiner for 16 years in financial services. Please welcome Jenn Espinosa-Goswami. Jenn, welcome.
Thank you, JB. What a great beginning to our conference today with Heidi. Thank you so much, Heidi. Who is here to learn how to be a more confident speaker? Can I get a yes? Can I get a me? For those of you who are watching today, if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment as often as you'd like. So I'm going to go a different route with this from what Heidi has already shared with us today. The secret to confidence when it comes to speaking is staying hydrated. Now, you may be like, what, Jenn, what are you talking about? Well, here's what I mean. Imagine it is so warm outside. You've been outside in the hot sun. There's sweat dripping down your brow. You walk inside to your cool air-conditioned home and you enter the kitchen. On your left-hand side is the kitchen sink with tepid tap water. All you want to do is quench your thirst. To your right is a refrigerator with a cool and refreshing bottled water. Either one of those water options will quench your parched throat and quench your thirst. Which one of those do you choose? Now, right now, there is a speaker who is going onto stage and presenting a 60-minute presentation. They are also charging $5,000 plus to deliver that 60-minute presentation. That speaker is the bottled water. Now, not only do they quench their audience's thirst, but they also bring a different experience entirely to their presentation. Now, we can talk about mindset in terms of how to be more confident every day. But as a speaker coach, I help you consistently get up on stage. So my unique flavor of how to feel more confident with speaking is learning how to bridge into getting paid to be a speaker. I know you love speaking and you have it on your heart, excuse me, to share your mission from the stage. I love that for you. You do it for free because that's how passionate you are about public speaking. This message absolutely needs to be heard. And you can become that bottled water speaker sooner than you think. Now, imagine I invited you to speak on a stage tomorrow. Then I offered you $5,000 plus US or whatever currency you're in today to deliver that message on that stage. How do you think your confidence level would change? Knowing that you don't only get to speak about something you're passionate about, but you're also getting paid for that passion. So if you had to scale this on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I am out of this world excited and enthusiastic, tell me what your confidence level would look like if you got paid to speak on stage tomorrow. That is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, confidence is only one of the ways I support my clients. I also help my clients with being consistently on stage and clarifying their signature speech. For the next few minutes, can I share with you my unique roadmap to getting paid to speak? Let me know in the comments for those of you who are watching live, yes, if you're ready to take on my roadmap. Now, the MAP is an acronym for MAP. Now, let's go through these letters one at a time. M stands for motive. I work with clients who want to do a lot of things with speaking, and we always start with the end in mind. What does success look like for you when it comes to speaking? Now, we know you're going to wow your audience. We know you're going to deliver an impactful and powerful message, but there are other ways you can show your impact. So when you think about exiting from the stage, it was an amazing audience. It was a great experience. What does success mean to you? Now, for some of my clients, it's receiving raving testimonials, having the event organizer come up to you and inviting you to another stage, possibly a paid stage. For other clients of mine, they want to sign new coaching or consulting clients into their high ticket programs. And I have other clients who say, well, Jen, I want to get paid a speaking fee, and this is my minimum speaking fee. My favorite clients, though, are the ones that take all of those into consideration and say, I want all of it, Jen. I'm going to be not just the tepid kitchen sink water, but I'm also going to be the refreshing and cool bottled water type of speaker. I'm going to do it all, and I'm going to make a bigger impact through that. That is what motive stands for. By the way, stay tuned for the next few minutes because I will share with you my gift for how you can wrap your hands around this and make it tangible for you, because I want to make sure that you have an action step to take from today. Continuing on with a roadmap of how to get paid to speak. The second letter, A, stands for audience. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go out there and create a client avatar or a customer avatar, because guess what? The people sitting in the rows and the chairs in your audience are not the audience I'm talking about. And a lot of speakers make this mistake when they're first pitching themselves as speakers, especially when they're looking to get paid. You need to appeal not just to the people in the audience, but really who you're coordinating with and having a conversation with is the event organizer and planner. Your job is to make them look good in front of their boss. Your job is to make them look like everything is under control and you are on time and you're going to deliver exactly what you promised to deliver. There are different audiences who are looking for what you have to offer, for your speech content, for the way you deliver it, the very unique way that you deliver it. You are a superstar. And they're also looking for you to continue that conversation beyond the 45 or 60-minute presentation where you're showing up on their stage. Can you deliver on all of those promises? If you don't yet know how to deliver on those promises, let's have a conversation about what that could look like. There are some minimum pieces you need within your toolkit. I call it a speaker kit, in order to really command those stages and have better conversations with people who are looking for your message. Before we get to the last letter of the roadmap, I want to share something with you that should be clear, but maybe we need to spell it out here. None of this roadmap will matter if you have yet to choose or confirm your signature speech. And I'm not talking about creating a new speech every time you show up on a new stage. That is not what a signature speech is. I would really love to share my signature speech template with you to make this super easy for you. Is it okay if I post that in the chat underneath this video? Let me know yes if that's a good thing for you. So my signature speech template is a free gift that will help you brainstorm what success looks like for you as a speaker, how to organize your speech in such a way that you don't annoy your audience and you wow your audience at the same time. And most importantly, how to engage and include your audience members within your content. Don't be that speaker who puts your audience to sleep. And don't be that speaker who pitch slaps them until they pass out from exhaustion. You are not going to show up as that speaker because you know better after having downloaded my signature speech template. If you don't see the link, just comment below this video with speech, and I will send you a private message with the direct link. All right, back to the programming. Let's finish out the letters of the road map. So the last letter, P, stands for program. Your program has to answer a question that your audience is asking. Now, I'm not talking something that you can ask Siri or ask Alexa or even ask Google or ChatGPT. Your question that you're answering should not be something that anyone can find from an internet search. You show your thought leadership on stage by posing a solution that nobody has heard of or nobody has heard of in the way in which you deliver it. In terms of your program, you need to give them 2 ways to take away, if they choose to, and take action on what you just shared with them. So the 2 ways is a free gift of some sort. I've shared with you my signature speech template. And the second gift is only for the VIPs in your audience. By this, I mean the VIPs in your audience who are ready to take action and go deeper with you. Now, I'm not saying you're going to sell heavily from stage because that's not the way it works today. That's not how you wow your audience. And there will be a certain percentage of your audience members who want to take the work deeper and don't know what that looks like. Your job as a speaker is to make it clear what are the next steps. What is the quick, easy win through your free resource? And what is a deeper, more involved transformation that you are promising from your presentation? Now, there's only so much you can do in 60 minutes, but there's much more you can do over the next 6 months for those clients who are interested in taking the work deeper with you. I have a lot of coaching clients who are confused as to what to offer that special call to action at the end of their presentation. If you only mention your call to action at the last 5 minutes of your presentation, that may be why you're not receiving phone calls or inquiries or signing new clients, because it wasn't easy for them to understand what the next steps were. Your job on top of that platform is to make it easy. Also, if you download my free gift that I gave you, I will walk you through my speaker booking system and send you invitations to my masterclasses where I show you exactly what to do to find your next stage, including paid stages. Now, thinking back to the metaphor of the water, there are people who are presenting right now who are quenching their audience's thirst. There are people as well who are that famous bottled water and delivering an amazing experience that your audience will remember for years to come. Do you choose to be the tap water, or do you choose to be the bottled water? Cheers to your next stage. My name is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami. I encourage you to stay hydrated. I encourage you to increase your confidence by getting paid for your passion. And let's take the next stage confidently. JB, I'm giving you the floor back.
Thank you, Jen. That was awesome. First of all, sign me up. Okay, everybody who's listening and watching live and on the replay, you really need to take advantage of what Jen's talking about. As a speaker and a business mentor and coach for over 35 years, I can absolutely tell you what Jenn is talking about is one of the most important things that you need to do. Follow the process that she's identified and outlined for you. So Jenn, if you can give us that information, we'll pop it up into the comments so people have access to it. I'm signing up. You know, you as a speaker, as a professional, as someone who's interested in really accomplishing many different things and bringing people together, we all should be taking these ideas and concepts and applying them in our lives, both for our professional skill sets as well as our personal ones. So Jenn, thank you so much for your kind information, appropriate information for what we're talking about today, and for your presence as well. Thanks, Jenn.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is Kate Brungardner. Hey, Kate, she is a coach, trainer in public speaking, presence, and power. She combines her background in theater, performance, improv. Ooh, I love improv. We're going to have to talk about that. Embodiment and psychology into effective coaching as she guides high-achieving business and creative professionals in maximizing their presence. So for 15 years, Kate has turned these ideas and concepts of performance into applicable and practical techniques for her clients. She has an MFA from the Theater School at DePaul University, certifications in mask and movement theater, embodiment, and shadow coaching. Her work has taken her all over the world coaching, speaking, and training. And when not working with clients, she hikes the trails of the Great Smoky Mountains with her darling black lab, Stella. So please welcome Kate Brungardner. Kate, welcome.
Hello, and what a wonderful introduction. I can hardly believe that that's me. And I am so delighted to join everyone here today at this channel on these platforms, going live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, possibly to be seen by millions and billions of people. What a bold and daring thing to do. And I am delighted to be here today to talk to you about some of the exercises, perspectives, and philosophies that I share with my clients or from the stage when I am speaking and coaching. As you have listened to the speakers already today, there have been wonderful pieces of advice. And yes, we all deal with some of the same things. We all deal with fear. We all deal with some amount of self-doubt. My adrenaline right now is pumping because this is a heightened environment. I am on as it were. And what I know is that over the course of my career, I have developed the tools, the mindsets, the approaches that will help me be successful in this situation. Already the speakers today have used metaphor. You just heard Jenn talk about the water bottle, and that is a metaphor. And a metaphor is a wonderful thing to use in your public speaking and storytelling. And story, the speaker before Jenn, Heidi, told personal stories of what it was like for her when she was first beginning her public speaking career. This is also a wonderful thing to put into your content as a speaker. It is one of those things that makes you approachable, relatable. And to reiterate another point that a previous speaker made, folks aren't looking for perfection. Anytime I am in a training or in front of a group, I ask folks, what makes a speaker great? Or what makes a speaker memorable? And they say all kinds of things, like they're relatable, they're authentic, they seem approachable, they're passionate about their content, they're credible. You know what they never say? They never say they were so perfect or they had a great PowerPoint. It is the connection with the speaker, with the story, and with the content that makes the difference. And I want to go even just a little bit deeper than that. You know, for years, I have heard, and maybe you have heard, the statistic that public speaking remains the #1 fear above spiders and above death. There's a well-known joke from the old sitcom Seinfeld, which I grew up watching, in which Jerry Seinfeld recounts this fact, and that means that means there are more people at a funeral who would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. This is how great the fear is of public speaking. So if you are contemplating it, if you are raising your hand, I want to commend you on doing something very bold and very daring. Now, the one thing that has made all the difference on this platform and in this event and with my previous speakers, and this is the #1 rule that I give my clients. It is the first and most basic rule of great public speaking, and that is to show up. Your presence is a superpower. I firmly believe this. I've done enough research in physics and to understand that cells being observed, you observing me knowing that you are there, changes me. It makes an impact on you just as my words are making, or it makes an impact on me just as my words are making an impact on you. Showing up, bringing your presence to the platform, to the table, to the room is the first rule. And it doesn't matter if it's you being scared of networking or fearful around networking or trying a new experience or meeting somebody or showing up for a job interview. Showing up is the first and most basic rule of being able to do this. Because I tell you, when we all first started, we were scared too. My first plays, we were scared too. I wasn't sure that I would be able to do it, but I kept showing up. And it is that element of showing up that makes all the difference. You change the environment, your presence, your cells, your mere presence changes the environment in which people engage and has an impact. So I tell my clients, the first thing you just need to do is show up. If you can simply do that, if you can walk through the door. I was having a conversation yesterday with a girlfriend of mine. She was going back to the gym for the first time in 8 years, and she was scared. She was nervous. This is going to the gym. This isn't showing up for, the Grammys or on the stage in New York on Broadway. Even these simple things can be challenging for us. So if you can tell yourself, all I need to do right now is show up and let everything else just fall away for a moment and know that your showing up has the greatest impact of all. Next, I think we need to keep in mind that once you show up, you have to turn it up. And here's what I mean by that. Imagine you're getting out of bed in the morning, you're going through your day, and let's say we can picture our energy on a spectrum of 1 to 10, 1 being very low energy, 10 being very high energy. You're going around throughout your day. Generally, most of us live in an energy around 3, 4 on that spectrum. We're answering emails, we are getting our morning coffee, we are driving to the post office or to the office. This does not require a lot of energy from us. The next step to being a successful, engaging public speaker after showing up is turning up your energy. And I want to give you a few exercises, a few ways to think about this. And I'm going to ask you to join me. I'm going to do something a little daring, and I'm going to ask you to join me in it. I'm going to lead you through an exercise, but I'm going to give you 2 that I work with my clients on so that they can help imagine and visualize their energy. So first, I'm going to ask you for a moment. Let's all take a deep breath, and we're going to talk about breath in just a minute, but let's take a deep breath. And if you're watching this, I invite you maybe to close your eyes if you'd like. And just for a moment, I want you to imagine a row of lights along your spine. Now, I did not create this exercise. I heard this somewhere. I cannot take credit for creating it. I found it to be incredibly effective, though, and I have adapted it and adopted it into my work. So I want you to imagine a row of lights along your spine. And if you're sitting sharp against something or with your back right against something, see if you can come forward in your seat so that you're sitting forward and you have some space to imagine these lights, sort of like lights on a runway, down your spine. And your eyes are closed. And I want you to imagine that every time you take a breath, those lights get brighter. And they fill up the space behind you. And I want you to take a moment and drop your sensation, your sense of awareness into that space. For some of you, this exercise will resonate. For others, you're not going to sense anything, and that's fine. It's not the exercise for you. But if you do, I want you to imagine filling up the space with that light. And right now we're sitting down. One of the things I talk to my clients about is a sense of space. I think in really great speakers, they have an understanding of a sense of space. They know that whether it's in the virtual platform or on stage, they have to, or they can, fill up that space with their energy. And so I have my clients imagine this. It's not tangible, but it is real. So here's the next step. We're going to stand up and I'm going to join you. So if you are watching this and if you can be hands-free, or perhaps you're watching it with headphones and on a mobile and it's in your hand, and that's fine, I'm going to invite you to stand up. Because when we're speaking on a real stage, and I'm trying to be as thoughtful about the space as I can, we have a large space to fill up. And so if you are standing with me, I want you to keep your imagination on those lights along your spine. And I want you to imagine that in front of you are, 500 people, 30 people, 10,000 people? And I want you to use your breath, and remember, this is an imaginative exercise. I want you to use your breath to expand that sense of energy coming from you. You might find that it changes the way that you carry yourself. You might find your spine becoming straighter. You might find yourself opening up across the chest. We know that our physical body, both internally and externally, has an impact on the perception of our confidence, especially in a Western business corporate world. There is an expectation of what confidence looks like. One of the previous speakers quoted Amy Cuddy, a video that I often include in my own trainings about the connection between the body and your presence and what people sense from you and what you sense from yourself. So just for a moment, turn the lights off. Did you feel a little collapse? Did you feel a little shrink? So I want you to take this exercise with you as you think about showing up places and you do feel that fear. Take a moment and play with this exercise and feel yourself filling up the space. It also has the wonderful ancillary benefit of breath and breathing. We need our breath, of course, for our voice. Without breath, there is no voice. If you were to blow all of the breath out of your body right now and then try and talk, you can't do it. Your voice needs breath, and the bigger the space, the more breath you need. So I invite you to play with this. And of course, breath also calms us. It centers us. Every religion, every sort of personal development practice, as we may call it, has an element of prayer, meditation, breathing, chanting. These are all ways to use our breath and our presence. So first is showing up, being courageous enough, daring enough to simply show up at the said event and do a terrible job. That's fine. We all have to get through those moments. And the second is to turn it up. So going beyond the fear, going beyond simply the basics of showing up, the next step is to turn it up. And lastly, and this kind of encapsulates what I've touched on already, is the idea of filling up. And I want to talk to this about in two different ways. Number one, filling up internally and filling up externally. The exercise we just did about filling up space, because as a young actor, you sometimes have big stages that you have to fill, both vocally and physically. People in the back have to be able to see you. So getting comfortable filling up space, right? There is all this space in this screen that I can fill up with my body, that I can use in the virtual space and of course in real life. We have space to fill up, and becoming comfortable filling up that space is a part of the practice of being a public speaker, getting comfortable in those spaces. So that's sort of the external idea of filling up the space beyond you. And then internally, I like to take a moment to fill up one with breath. I like to take a moment to connect with my intention. I like to take a moment to think about the audience and let that fill me up. If I can get my mind off of the nerves, off of the circulating thoughts that may be in my head, what if the tech goes wrong? What if I misspeak? What if the lights go out? What if someone interrupts me? What if they don't like me? What if I'm not good enough? Taking a moment to drop in and fill yourself up with breath, to fill yourself up with the intention, your message, the audience, the way you want to impact them, the way you want to empower them, interrupts those anxious thoughts. So to recap, I have these 3 recommendations for being a better public speaker based on my years of experience on stage and in training and research and coaching and facilitation. Number 1, show up. Show up when you're going to say you're going to show up. Show up for yourself, show up for other people. Nurture the courage it takes to show up, like my friend did at showing up at the gym. Because when we talk about this fear of public speaking, it is not that we have to worry about the fear of public speaking. What we have to get used to doing is handling fear. And I have a wonderful exercise that I do with my clients, another visualization around fear to help us imagine it, work with it, because there is always going to be fear at every evolution, at every upward level you take. Fear is going to be there, whether it's the fear of public speaking, whether it's the fear of rejection, whether it is the fear of a no, whether it is a fear of whatever it is. But right now, we live in a world of all kinds of chaos, all kinds of political and personal, individual and collective fraughtness. And so we are constantly facing fear. And so learning how to face fear, regardless of what circumstance, is the important fact. And it takes courage. Public speaking takes courage. And courage begets confidence. The more that you do this, the more that you step into your big, bold, daring ideas of wanting to speak on a bigger stage or to a bigger audience or to show up on 3 platforms live, these things can be fear-inducing. And so this practice of working with fear is very important, and is one thing that often we need coaching, guidance on. It's not something we sort of do naturally, right? We run, of course, are designed at that lizard brain level to shrink away from things that scare us. But we are coming to a new level of consciousness and know that, like warriors, we have to face these fears and walk through them, because on the other side is something really amazing. So first you have to show up. And then you've got to turn it up. You've got to turn up your energy from that maybe 3 or 4 that we typically go throughout our day in, to a 7, to a 10, to fill up that energy or to turn up that energy, to turn it on with those bright lights on your spine, as if you are shining for all the world to see. And then we have to fill up with breath, fill up with intention, fill up with connection. Fill up your space internally and externally. These are 3 building blocks or 3 challenges of cultivating any success, I think, in any area, whether it's public speaking, whether it's speaking in a meeting, in a boardroom, with a nonprofit, at your church, in an organization that you're a member of. You have a story to share. You have an idea to share. You have a challenge that you need to voice, whatever it is. These 3 things of showing up, turning up, and filling up will help you be a better public speaker. And I want to invite you to join me. I have taken the liberty of writing my information down here. So I am going to ask you to join me. I have videos on this at my YouTube at Kate B Coaching on YouTube. And I invite you to join me at Kate B Vocal on Facebook. I post videos, I have a blog, and I, of course, coach. Invite me to speak to your group, to your organization, to take a deeper dive into your presence and the superpower that it is. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to hearing my fellow speakers. Thank you.
Awesome, Kate. That was wonderful. Holy smokes. I didn't realize the first thing about filling the area, the environment, is so critical. In general, it makes sense, right? It's common sense, but the capability of being able to do that, you gave us some really practical ideas on how to fill the space. I've always heard that performing live in a theater is one of the most challenging activities. And I remember doing some improv training early on in my career. And being able to do that is one of the best skills I've learned over time. Whether it was, speaking in front of, 500 people, I spoke in front of 10,000 people at one point, but even down into really small areas with boards of directors and such. Being able to fill the space and understand how to do that is one of the most critical activities that you can do. And most people don't talk about that, Kate, so thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You're going to hang around? Because I'd love to kind of have a little round table with you if that's something that you'd be willing to do. You good? Mm-hmm. Awesome, cool. Okay, so let's welcome Kate back here for a second, because I just wanted to see, boom, 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 we'll go a couple minutes here and talk about that. And if we can get some of the other speakers back, we'll see if we can do that too. But Kate, you've been doing this for a long time, and you've spoken with many different people, begin early in their career and later on their career. What would you say are, like, I mean, you gave us 3 really important steps to be a great public speaker at this point.
Oh, I have a whole lot more to say, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well,
There's plenty.
yeah. So really what this is about is to identify, let's dig a little bit deeper if I could. There are some really great nuggets that I know that are buried right below the surface of what you've just said. Can you give us a couple more?
Sure. I think one thing is continuous learning around this, and the intentional application of what you learned, having of what you may hear from your coach, the intentional application of it. It takes time. You're not going to necessarily be a wonderful speaker out of the gate. This has been a lifelong practice for me. And partly I had the good benefit of growing up the daughter of a preacher. And so public speaking and words and language and rhetoric and the use of story and illustrations, that was almost second nature in my household. And of course, then I was given the opportunity, i.e. forced, as a young child,
Right.
and through my early years to be on stage. And we know research has shown that cultivating that ability to be on stage or to speak up in a meeting, people get further in their career, they earn more money over the course of their career. And so these are things that professionals in the business world, in the nonprofit world, politics, what have you, these are lifelong practices to cultivate. I'm a much better speaker and coach today than I was when I started 15 years ago, right? I'm a better actor today because than I was when I first started. You learn it, you learn the techniques. And sometimes, I will say, sometimes it feels really awkward to learn techniques. I remember hearing about Tiger Woods, of course, globally famous, extraordinarily successful golfer. I think about 10 years into his career, got a new coach, swing coach for his golf swing, and had the worst part, hit worse than he ever did because he was implementing new techniques.
Right.
And so when you are implementing some of these techniques, it's going to be a little messy. It's going to feel awkward and uncomfortable for a little while until they become more sort of, I want to say subconscious, because the habit forming thing is, first when you form habits, you are unaware of what you are unaware and unconscious. And then you gain aware. So you don't know how bad you are because you don't even know. It's like me trying to take like German. Like I'm so unconscious of what I know. And then the next level is you become conscious of what you don't know. And then you become aware of what you need to learn. And then you become aware and conscious. And then it goes back to unconsciousness and unawareness because it becomes so second nature. It becomes a habit. It becomes a part of your behavior. And you have to raise your hand to give yourself opportunities to practice. You can practice all you want in front of your mirror, or, I'll open a Zoom, a new meeting, and hit record and record myself with new content. But you have to get out there on that stage and do it. Yeah,
it's definitely different when you're, trying to do things on your own versus getting in front of a group of people. There's nothing like getting that feedback. Right? Because I'm looking in your eyes and I'm feeling who you are, right? And so it becomes really important for you to get, for members of the audience that you're watching either now or on the replay, get out there, practice. Yeah. And remember, I'm an older guy. And so we have a grandson, he's 3 years old. And I'm watching him do all of these different things. And it's really interesting. I started looking at life from his perspective and applying that to what I do now in my stage, because I'm still learning things. And when we're not learning things and willing to fall on our butts and pick ourselves back up,
Well, and we learn things and we forget things, and then things
Right.
are often trained out of us, right? That
Right.
childlikeness is often trained out of us. I talk a lot. I come from a theater background primarily. I dip into corporate America. But one of the things that I frequently talk about and that I think people are really thirsty for is in especially a business or corporate setting, we have given ourselves such a small spectrum of expression we allow ourselves,
Right.
whether that's emotional expression, whether it's physical expression. And then people come to me after years of being in this system, right? And they have this very, very small, tight window of how they're allowed to express themselves. And then they come to me in their late 30s or mid 40s. And they say things like, well, I'm so monotone. I'm dull. I bore people. They're in a new position of leadership and they can't have the impact. It's because all of the things that give us our impact have been cut off. So
Right.
I tell clients all the time, I have a client, he's a COO of a large organization. And he does a lot of sort of the public facing stuff.
Mhm.
And I asked him if he had kids. He had a 4 and 2-year-old. I said, be more like them. If you want to have more impact as a speaker, if you want your voice to have more life, if you want your message to have more impact, you need to bring back some of that energy.
Mhm.
Watch when you take them when they're running around the house or you're playing with them or you take them to a playground, all the things they do with their body and how much energy and their face and their voice and how big they go and how small they go. Having the courage to be silly,
Right.
having the courage to be, to fill up that space and to fill up that spectrum and to stretch that sum. You only need about 10% more, I think. I'm not expecting him to go out and be on stage and be like, guys, wow, this is, but if he could get 10% of that back,
Right.
it would bring so much more life and dynamicism. Is that a word? Dynamicism?
It is today.
It is today. I just made it one. It would bring
There you
so
go.
much more back into his speaking. And so part of
Sure.
this is, it's subversive to access your full range of expression, both physically, mentally, emotionally, vocally.
Right. It's interesting. I look at what we do in speaking and being filling up who we are as people. I tell stories at the beginning generally when I introduce summits, and one of the stories I like to talk about is a little root that grows and it hits a rock before the seed starts to sprout, and it still needs to kind of get through, and it's dying to feel the sun. That's who we are as people, and we get that beat out of us so that we speak in that really small voice. What you're talking about is like a key not only to speaking, but it's a key to being personally developed and fulfilled as an individual.
Well,
That
you
was
said it,
brilliant,
not
Kate.
me. You said it, not me. And this is why, I'm sorry, I'm very chilly in this environment, my house, so I'm going to put
Oh,
a jacket on. But
sure.
and this is why, when I first started my career, and how lucky am I that I get to talk about this on 3 global platforms. But when I first started, I was, of course, very focused on sort of classic public speaking training. Stand up straight, take the take the stage, as it were. I would tell folks, that walk that you take from your seat to the podium, you need to be thoughtful
Mm,
about your energy in that moment, because that's what you're going to take into the podium.
sure.
And so I tell people, I said, you need to do the stride of pride, not the walk of shame. Right?
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Do the stride of pride, bring your energy into that. So and so I started with, I think, very sort of typical public speaking stuff. But then, of course, as most coaches, and maybe this is true of your experience, most research is me search. And
Mm,
as I have developed as a person, and as I have developed on my self-development, self-awareness journey, which has taken me through trauma work and embodiment and shadow work and We look back at habits and patterns and how we got to where we are and what do we want to change or need to change. You realize that this stuff, our voices and speaking publicly is so personal. And when we do it, we face fear. We cultivate our story. And so we're looking back and we're reflecting and we're thinking and we're making points and connections to current events. And so it does become a personal development journey of sorts. And I am grateful to be able to involve not just content and story, but also the voice and helping people, especially women, get comfortable with the sound of their voice taking up space and being heard. I came from a generation of women as that preacher's daughter. I grew up in a religion that told me I couldn't speak, not from the podium. I can't preach. I don't have that right. And so it is a very daring thing for me to do, to speak.
Right.
So yeah, these things, it's all in there. It's a very subversive thing to do. And it takes bravery, it takes courage, it takes the willingness to cultivate these things and ask the questions. I have a question for you, JB. What advice, sitting from where you are now in your elder years, which is a place full of wisdom and experience and discernment, what advice would you give your young self on being a better public speaker?
That's a great question. I think we all have these two little people that speak to you. One's on your right shoulder and one's on your left shoulder. The one on the right shoulder is always the one that's always going to be the first voice that you hear. It's the one that says, stop, don't do it. Stop. And the one on the left is going, yeah, but you know what? You want to be this, you want to do it, you want to make it happen, you can blah, 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 right? And we have this tendency to think it's either or. Back in the day, I squashed this guy, the one that was telling me to watch out. And I went all in on doing a bunch of different things. But here's the difference. If you go all in on whatever it is you do, you have the possibility of losing who you are, right? So what I would tell myself looking backwards, I would say, listen to both parts of who you are. Know that they are part of a whole of who you are. And look at how you can positively affect everybody and the unintended consequences of every action that you have. And think about that before you take action. That's what I would tell myself. Because I went so far and took things so way out of line, I lost myself for many, many years.
JB, I think you and I could have another whole conversation on that. That is the sort of spiritual development, life process and path so many of us come to. It is a lesson many of us learn. We end up making some very costly mistakes.
Yep.
And some hard lessons learned. I think very similarly of myself, a similar situation. And it is difficult because in our culture, certainly Western American culture, it is always that hunger for more, to go bigger, go, be more successful, go to that next rung, do that next thing. And we get seduced by it. And honestly, there is some hardwiring there with dopamine, right? We are dopamine seeking creatures and we like to challenge ourselves. And there's actually that little thrill of like, ooh. I have this cohort I'm starting in January called How Dare I? And on one hand, it is about being bolder, bigger, better, pushing yourself, doing that daring thing, daring to raise your hand, because there is a time in life that we do need to push ourselves and do that. Mm-hmm. But then there is also the daring thing of going internal and being quiet and being smaller and listening. Mm-hmm. That is also a very daring, subversive thing to do, to push back against that constant push of success and bigger, faster, better, whatever it is that is so rampant in our society. And I do think that that is evolution of consciousness, right? We have to do that pushing early on in our years, but it is really easy to let it get out of hand and overstep.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kate. This has been wonderful. First of all, your presentation is awesome.
Thank you.
But beyond that, the woman that you are, to have overcome what you have, and the message that you're delivering to people, I will do whatever I can to help you reach as many people as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for enjoying Kate's wonderful speech, and more importantly, her appropriate way of approaching life. Speaking is a component of who we are as people. So, Kate, again, thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, whose career amplifies resilience, expertise, and a profound commitment to empowering others. Michael Watson is a professionally qualified social worker with over 30 years of experience working with children, families, navigating some of the most challenging dynamics in society. He's an expert in giving evidence in court, a skill he's refined into an art, driven by his determination to demystify the often intimidating courtroom environment. He's authored books to guide others through the process of cross-examination, equipping them to face these high-pressure situations with confidence and clarity. Today, Michael continues to champion this mission through public speaking, sharing his wisdom with audiences around the world. His insights are not only practical, but deeply empowering, offering actionable strategies to protect oneself and thrive under stress. Please join me in welcoming Michael Watson. Michael. Oh, hang on.
Hi, JB. Thank you so much for that introduction.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Well, my talk maybe, sorry?
No, welcome.
Thank you. My talk may be a bit different from others, but hey, variety is the spice of life. So I shall begin. Would you believe that in 2024, in the UK, at least one child is killed every week by their parent? Would you believe that? Well, there was a time I certainly wouldn't have believed it. You see, at that time, I was a young, inexperienced, naive social worker, and I was working with a child, a 3-year-old child, and her parents. And I very soon began to realize that I didn't like to go to see the parents. It wasn't that I didn't like to see the child, but I didn't like to see the parents because the parents detested me and they showed that to me in every way they could. So it made it very difficult to work with them because I was young and I wanted to be liked. So I didn't have an option, however. I had to go and see the child. There was no option as, excuse me, I was the child social worker. Now, picture the scene. It's a bright summer's day, a glorious summer's day, and it's warm. And that's not a figment of my imagination. Believe it or not, we still do have some bright summer's days in the UK. Not many, not anywhere near as much as I'd like, but we do have some. And on bright summer's days, I feel happy, I feel joyous. But on this particular day, I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way at all. And I realized it's because I had to go and see this family. But I didn't have an option, as I said. So I went and I saw the family. I knocked on the door. And the mother came out, looked at me, glared at me, sneered, and went straight back inside. That is the way she treated me. But as I stepped through this threshold, it was like stepping into a totally different world. You see, outside the sun was shining. It was bright. It was warm. But inside this flat, it was cold. It was eerie. It was frightening. The flat itself was a shell. The wallpaper was torn. The carpets were ripped. And the floorboards were showing. The parents were over one side of the room. If I spoke to them, the best I would get was a grunt or a groan. The only person that gave me any degree of welcome was this little girl who was in her playpen. Why she was in her playpen, I don't know, because she could walk. But it reminded me of being in a cell, because she was always holding onto onto the bars or the rails of the playpen like that. And she was always in there, never saw her anywhere else. And the other couple of things I remember about this little girl was that she always looked grubby. Her clothes were always grubby. Her eyes and her cheeks were always full of stains, the stains from her tears, which had rolled down her cheek and were now mingling between her nose and her mouth. And the one thing that really hit me about this little girl was that she was always looking at me. And that I found really strange. She wasn't looking at her mum. She wasn't looking at her dad. She was always looking at me. And I couldn't get that, because I know children always look at their parents. But this little girl was always just looking at me. And it was a mystery I couldn't fathom, couldn't make sense of. Anyway, one day I received a phone call from my manager asking me to come into work as soon as possible, telling me there'd been a tragedy in one of my cases. So I went into work as soon as I could, and my manager looked at me and she mouthed the words that made me clear that my life would never be the same. She told me that the little girl had been killed brutally by her father. And what that meant for me was that I was going to have to go to court. I was going to have to explain and give an account of what I'd done and what I hadn't done to save this girl's life and how I'd worked with her family. And I had no experience of going to court. This would have been my first time. So I didn't know about it. But what I knew from just the way people were talking was that it wasn't going to be pleasant. It wasn't going to be an easy situation. And it felt like there was a massive cloud hanging over me, just waiting to come down on me, a heavy cloud waiting to fall down on me. I went to court. It's the Royal Courts of Justice in London. It's a big, massive stone building. And when I got through there, passed it, got through the electronic security system, it hit me just how cold it was in there. It was very cold because it's a big stone building. But it's not just cold in terms of the temperature. It's cold in terms of the atmosphere. I don't know if you've been to court, but if you've ever been to court, you'll know that the atmosphere isn't great. It's toxic. People are arguing with each other. It's not a pleasant environment at all. I eventually found my way to the court I was meant to be in, because there's many different courts in that building, and I was placed in a witness box. Now, I don't know about you. Have you ever been placed somewhere where you don't want to be, where you'd rather be anywhere else at all, where you feel trapped? Well, if you've been there, if you've experienced that, that's exactly how I felt that day. I wanted to be anywhere else, but I was told by the judge I had to be there. I didn't have an option, so I had to stay right there. And whilst I was there in that witness box, squirming away, I was being asked these horrible questions by barristers. These barristers were making out it was more my fault that the child had died. These barristers were painting me as the person who had effectively killed this child by what I'd done or what I hadn't done. And I was in no position to argue with them. I was distraught. I was traumatized. I was feeling guilt. I was feeling lost. I wasn't prepared emotionally, psychologically, professionally, or any way to answer these questions. And I was sitting there feeling these questions attacking me. They were like darts hitting me all over my body, all over my person. They weren't physically harming me, but they were psychologically, emotionally causing me incredible pain, because I was like this massive dartboard that they couldn't fail to miss, because I was a sitting duck. And as I sat there in great pain, at one stage I was in denial, because I was thinking, what's happening? This can't be happening to me. There must be someone here who cares, someone here who's got a heart, who can help me. And I looked around the room, hoping to see someone who had a heart. But as I looked around the room, I didn't see anyone who with a warm heart, anyone with a sympathetic expression on their face. All I saw was cold, hard glares and stares looking back at me. And I realized at that moment that no one was coming to help me. I was on my own. And as that realization dawned on me, I thought of this little girl, because she'd been on her own in her playpen, wishing, hoping, begging that someone was going to help her. And at that moment, I realized that that someone she was hoping to help her was me. I was her one chance of being saved. But I wasn't able to help her because I didn't understand what she was going through. And as a result, I wasn't able to help her. Now, there were some similarities between what's going on with her and what was going on for me. We're both trapped in our little cells, hoping that someone's come to save us. But we're both in vain because no one was coming. But that's where the similarity between myself and her ended. You see, what happened to her was a million times worse than what happened to me. But without a word of a lie, I wouldn't wish what happened to me on that day in that witness box to have happened to my worst enemy. That's how bad it was. Now, I don't know if it went on for an hour or 2 hours. I don't know. When you're in absolute agony, 5 minutes seems like a lifetime. Eventually, the judge must have got fed up with me, glared at me, and just simply dismissed me. Just as well, because I couldn't answer any questions anyhow. And when that happened, I wanted to fly away from court, as far away from court, never want to see the inside of a court ever again. But something stopped me. Something said, no, Michael, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to go back to court again and again and again. You're going to learn to give good evidence. You know why? Because what happened to you today is never, ever going to happen to you again. You're never going to allow anyone to make you feel that low again. And that's exactly what I did. I went back to court again and again until I got good at giving evidence, which didn't take me long. Until I was able to write a book about giving evidence. You see, my attitude had changed. I was no longer waiting and hoping, wishing that someone was going to come and help me. I had decided that there was no one coming to me, and I was actually able to help myself. I had found my voice, and I was never ever going to lose my voice again. I couldn't save this little girl. It was too late. But I could save a lot of other people from going through anything like the torment, the agony that I went through in the witness box. And I would never lose my voice ever again. Now, for any of you who are wanting to learn the tips and skills for public speaking, I've got a few things, a few ideas and a few bits of information that I'd like to share with you. One of the things you can do when you're wanting to learn public speaking, one of the things you can use is you can use contrast. You can use the difference between hot, warmth and cold, darkness and light. You can use people's behavior, show people's behavior, show how they're behaving towards you. Use emotive words, and express feelings. You can show gesticulation, just how cold things are. Gesticulate in that way. Use humor, as long as it's useful, as long as it's appropriate and relevant to whatever the discussion is. I think it's also important to use mystery, an element of mystery, to ensure that people remain engaged with what you're talking about. It's important that they remain engaged and keep interested in the discussion. It also can help empathize people when people have that sense of mystery. Also have an idea of, how you ask people questions. Asking people's questions is so important because it helps to engage them. Helps to engage them and keep them informed. And people also understand more when you ask them questions, because they can reminisce, they can sort of see how you're feeling, understand how you're feeling. It's useful also to use phrases such as I picture the scene. Picture the scene, because we're all visual people. Images are important to us. Seeing how things are, that's very useful. But also using the full senses, all the five senses. Make it as vivid as possible when you're looking at something, when you're listening to something, when you're hearing something, when you're touching something, when you're feeling something. Using those five senses can bring things to life, can make your experiences, make your story feel very vivid, very much alive. And your tone of voice. It's important to use different tones of voice depending on what's happening in your story. Your tone of voice is key and is very important. Practicing, of course, I can't overestimate. I'm still very new to public speaking. I've only been public speaking in a very short period of time, but I know that how important it is to practice and practice and practice. And feel good. Practice till you feel good about what you're trying to say. It's not always possible to do so. And there's always a lot of challenges. There's always a lot of fear. And there's fear and doubt about our abilities. But just as much as there's fear and doubt, there's also belief and faith. And you have to have that faith in what you're trying to say. I didn't speak about my story for years. For over 30 years, I didn't share my story. It didn't take me many months to get good at giving evidence, because I'd made up my mind to do so. And when you make up your mind to do things, you can do whatever you want to do. What took me 30 plus years was to tell this story. And it took me 30 plus years to tell this story because the story was so painful to me. It was such an incredibly painful experience to me that it took me that long to speak about. But when you make up your mind to speak, to give it your all, to actually decide that that's what you want to do, then there's nothing that can stop you. You alone, you are your worst enemy. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you put that into your mind. And that's what I've done. I've done it for a very short time. I've only been speaking for the last couple of months. And there are people out there who are much, much more skilled than me. But I know that if I keep speaking, if I keep learning, keep wanting to learn, I can do whatever I want to. And so can you. There's nothing you can't do if you put it in your mind and you want to do it and you have a reason. Give yourself a great reason. Give yourself a great cause. My cause is several reasons. One is I don't want anyone to go through the horrid experiences I went through. I don't think anyone deserves that. So I want to do something with that so that I can make sure that people learn the skills to defend themselves at court. But I also want to do public speaking because I think the world there's lots of ways in which I think the world is lacking in certain areas. It's lacking in love. It's lacking in tolerance. It's lacking in trust. And it needs to develop that. And if I can do something in my public speaking life and experiences to improve that, to make the world a better place, then I'll be happy with what I'm doing. So I want to leave you there. I want to leave that with you. And I hope that you found this talk very useful. I know it's different from everyone. Probably, I assume it's very different from other people's. But I hope that in listening to my talk, that you not only found it useful, but were able to pick up and identify those bits of skills that you can use for yourself to grow as a public speaker, to learn as a public speaker, and to develop in the ways that you wish to speak. Thank you so much.
That's great, Michael. I'm curious about your journey to becoming a speaker is fraught with massive emotion on so many different levels. If you were to talk to somebody right now and just give us, I guess, the top 3 bullet points that you've learned based on your experience, what would they be?
About becoming a speaker?
Yeah, about becoming a speaker.
The first thing I'd say is that you have to want to do it. You have to have a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a powerful reason. The second thing I'd say is that you have to surround yourself maybe with people who are public speakers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really, really important. And the third thing I'd say is, I think personal development. Be
Mm-hmm.
willing to learn constantly. Constantly put yourself in a position of learning, because from my experience, it's very, when I started, which is literally only a few months ago, I was so scared, but I realized that if you stop, you go backwards. You cannot allow yourself to go backwards ever. You have to keep moving forwards. So when you stop practicing, when you stop getting on stage, or you stop talking, you are moving backwards. And if I don't practice for a day or two, I know that I'm less confident, I'm less skilled. I won't do as good a job. So constant practicing, consistent training is vital, and being around people who want you to do well and who you want to do well.
Mm-hmm. So, given that that's the case, where do you see yourself going in, say, the next year with your speaking?
In the next year, I see myself going loads of places. I see myself going lots of places over the world. I see myself being with lots of different speakers. I see myself learning a lot, constantly learning, trying to get better all the time. I see I think it's, as you said, JB, it's a way of life. And I won't be able to get there. I won't be able to obtain the results I want. I won't be able to be as influential as I want positively unless I continue on this journey of being positive and trying to push forward in every way I can. So every speaking opportunity I get, or that I get, I'm trying to take. Sometimes it's probably I'm not being as wise as I should be, because sometimes it's just paying out money.
Sure.
But it's a lesson, and I'm learning it, and I'm willing to put in the hours and the time and the money and the investments, the emotions, etc., to become who I want to become.
Oh, that's awesome. So, aspiring speakers, there's obviously a continuum of speakers from newly started speakers such as yourself to, people like Kate and Heidi and those who've been doing this for many, many, many years. The question ends up being you have to be considerate of yourself on your part in your journey at whatever stage you're in, to be able to go from where you are to where you want to go. So given that that's the case, and you know that you're going to be, well, we all do this, right? I was talking about this before, that we all stumble and fall. We all have to pick ourselves up and kind of move forward with it. The persistence ends up being one of the challenges and kinds of things that we have to overcome when we're becoming our speaker and the best self that we can be. The question that I would have for you is, what specific types of activities do you practice so that you can overcome those obstacles when you're falling and picking yourself up? What specific things would you implement for yourself so that you continue on your journey?
Well, it's a great question. Not one in which because I'm not sure I've fallen yet. I think I'm waiting to fall. And then when I do, it's about how I'm going to do it. But you see.
Well, if I could, let me interject one thing. When you started your speaking journey, right? Let's go back when you were in court. And at that point, you just didn't feel like you were there. It was like, that was your moment when you had fallen.
Yeah.
But something inside of you enabled you to pick yourself up and
You're
take the
damn right.
next step.
You're damn right.
What's that
What was?
thing? Yeah.
You know, in my case, it was absolute rage.
Okay.
It was absolute rage. It's not something I wouldn't advise you to have rage when you go to court.
No.
But I was incensed with the way I was treated. I was
Mm.
incensed. I don't think anyone should go through that. It was the most horrendous time in my life. And as I said, I genuinely, I don't know what it was, but something inside me decided, as I said in my story, that's never going to happen to me again. I made the decision that was never going to happen to me again. So I was fully in to making sure that I would go back. I don't know how I went back to court. I don't remember going back to court. I know I did. I literally don't remember. But something propelled me to go back to court because actually I was frightened beyond my wits of going to court because it's such a terrible experience. But I went back again. And when I look back at it now, something inside me just said, you are going to do this. And I just went ahead and did it. And I think that when you really want to do something, or when your emotions are pushed to the limit, when something has hit you so hard that you're either going to drop and stay down or you're going to get up, that was it. And for me, it was like, no way on earth is anything going to ever going to do that to me. No way. So, I was just going to push through the roof.
I love it. Okay. So if you can't feel the energy, then, that Michael has just espoused to us, then I don't know what can. Michael, you've been very inspirational, going through all of the activities that you've gone through to get to this stage in your career and embarking on this new journey on public speaking. I want to thank you so much for being here. Is there any final words that you'd like to give to the rest of our audience?
I'd like to thank them so much for listening. I'd like to thank you, JB. I'd like to thank Anshu also. And my final words are, there's nothing you can't do. I don't believe there's anything you can't do anymore. I used to believe that, but I don't believe that anymore. Just if you want to do something, go for it and keep going for it. And don't let anything keep you down. You're going to get knocked down. I'm going to get knocked down. But you know what? You can get up and you can do whatever you like in this world. I want to help make this world a better place because I think there's lots of ways, there's too many things that are going on which aren't right. If you want to do something you think that you value, that you think is important for those you love, for yourself, for others, then nothing's stopping you but you. So go for it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate you being here, your message, and it's really timely based on everything that's going on in our world today. All right. Well, listen, I want to welcome our final speaker for today. A good friend of mine, Nadine Hanchar, is a seasoned counselor, consultant, facilitator. She's an international best-selling author with over 35 years of experience, and she only looks like she's 36 years old, in personal and professional development. She's a developer of the PEP personality process, which is a unique personality profiling system that offers deep insights into how individuals process information, affecting their communication, relationships, and overall life. Her holistic approach integrates a wide range of modalities, including NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, iridology, nutrition, Reiki, and Hawaiian Huna. She customizes therapy and coaching to fit individual client needs, focusing on resolving root causes of issues for lasting results. Please welcome my friend, Nadine Hanchar. Nadine, welcome.
Thank you, JB. That was a very nice introduction. I see that my hair looks like I have a green alien, but anyway.
No. It's a green halo.
Green halo. Okay.
From Oz. It's from Oz. There you go.
It's probably my green screen. But anyway, so yes, thank you for having me. So today I'm going to explore with you a topic that I think is crucial for anyone who steps up to public speaking. Whether it's a boardroom, a classroom, online, or on stage, it's really important to have the heart of your speaking connect with your audience through confidence. So today we're also going to touch on a little bit of the framework of my PEP personality process and how you can use that with your audience. And so I just want to say something first. Just picture this. I'm teaching an NLP practitioner class. I'm sitting on a small stage with I'm sitting on a bar stool, and I have my teacher's notes and my binder on a music stand. And there's 40 people in the room. They're all looking at me. And what happens is I kick the music stand by accident, and my papers and everything goes everywhere. Now, what I want you to know is that speaking and having confidence isn't about being perfect. As you can see, that was not a perfect entry for me that day. So what is confidence in public speaking? It isn't about not feeling nervous. It's about managing your nerves. It's about presenting yourself in a way that the audience believes you. Confidence is the bridge between your message and your audience's heart. Mm-hmm. So why does confidence matter in public speaking? Well, confidence helps your message land effectively. It builds trust and credibility with your audience. And when you feel confidence, your audience feels engaged and inspired. Like Michael, he was wonderful. And so the role of heart in confidence is that the root cause of heart in confidence is that you want to have a genuine connection. Because when you have a genuine connection and you want to speak with compassion, empathy, and authenticity, be yourself. There's nothing worse than somebody up there trying to be somebody they're not. The audience sees through that in a minute. So audience respond to speakers who speak from the heart. Heart-centered confidence connects you to your audience on a deeper level. And when you lead with heart, your words resonate more powerfully. Now, I'm going to give you a little NLP here. So tonality. So there's 3 types of tonality that we talk in. One is questioning with it coming up on the end. One is statement tonality, and the other is command tonality. Now, if you're, again, picture this for a moment. If we're driving and you're in the driver's seat and I'm your navigator, and I said to you, okay, turn right. Now, what does that create inside you? It creates doubt. So whenever you use questioning tonality, it actually creates doubt. So if you're giving a presentation, even when you ask a question, you want to ask it in a way that's either statement or command tonality, never in questioning tonality, because it creates doubt in what you're saying. So those are a few things about tonality. And I'd like to give you some practical tips for building confidence. So one of the things you can do is visualization. So a lot of you might be familiar with the basketball story about how when they're training, they did this study where some of the basketball players practiced every day shooting hoops. Some didn't do anything. And then there was this other group that visualized getting perfect hoops every time. And at the end of the time period that they did this, the ones that were visualizing hitting the hoops perfectly every time were the ones that had improved the most. So if you're wanting to improve your speaking, visualization, imagining yourself succeeding, visualizing the room, the audience, and your delivery the mental rehearsal can significantly reduce your anxiety. Preparation is another thing. Know your material well. Knowing your material well reduces anxiety. And yes, so we'll move on. Mindset. You need to have a growth mindset. You need to always be learning, because when you're open to learning, you can get feedback from whatever you're doing and learn from it. And that's really important. This next one, most people don't even think about, but body language. You need to stand tall, make eye contact, gesture purposefully. And there are 5 positions that Virginia Satir talks about. And one of them is the pleaser. Now, the pleaser is when you're looking to the audience and you're going, do you agree with me? Then there's the data person. They're kind of standing there with their arms crossed and just sort of spouting the data. Then there's the distractor. Then there's the blamer. Okay. And then there's the leveler. And the leveler is the one that you want to be in if you're wanting to be believed. Now, the other ones can add some contrast. The distractor can add a little bit of excitement. If you're going to do blamer, you always do it with a full hand. You never point at anybody specifically. And I'm going to say this to the women out there. If you're doing pleaser, don't do it too often, because otherwise you look like you're begging and that you don't know what you're doing. So don't do pleaser too often. And men, don't do blamer too often. So your body language needs to convey balance, openness, engagement, and trustworthiness. Now, there's also a breathing technique that can help you that most people don't know. So a lot of times when you're told that you're anxious to breathe, I'm actually going to tell you something different. So I'm going to tell you to blow all the breath out of your body, hold it out to the count of 4, and then breathe slowly in, filling up your lungs from the bottom, and then breathe out slowly. So when you do that, because when you do a quick in-breath, that actually gives the signal to your fear response. And so it actually increases the anxiety if you do that. So you want to blow all the air out and hold it out and then breathe in slowly. So that's just a practical tool. And the other thing that sometimes is helpful is to actually practice in front of a mirror. What do you look like when you're speaking? How do you see yourself when you're speaking? And then you'll understand how other people see you. So you want to connect with your audience. Storytelling is humans connect through storytelling. I mean, there's been storytelling right from the dark ages. Use personal anecdotes or relevant stories that resonate with your audience. This not only makes your speech more memorable, but it also builds a rapport with your audience. And engage actively. Have you asked your audiences questions? Ask your audience questions. Asking questions invites participation, or even use humor. Engagement shows you're confident enough to interact spontaneously. So one of the comedians that my husband Heinz likes, his name is Matt Riff, who does his comedy through engaging with his audience during his live shows. He never knows what he's going to do because it's all about how his audience is interacting with him. So be authentic, be real, let your personality shine through. Authenticity breeds trust. And when you're genuine, your audience feels like you're speaking with them, not at them. Now, with my PEP personality process, basically there's 4 zones and there's 4 components. And when you have everyone has all 4 zones and everyone has all 4 components. How those 4 components fit into the 4 zones, though, is very important. And that tells me a lot about your personality. So within the PEP personalities, there are 4 languages. So even though we speak the English language, there's actually 4 languages within the English language. And so speaking to your audience with all of the different languages helps them to actually connect with you. So, for instance, if somebody is a sensitive, emotional person talking about feelings and talking about empathy and things that create compassion, if you're talking to someone who's more visual, you want to have them painting pictures. If you're talking to somebody who's more auditory, you're going to want to actually maybe use sound effects. If you're talking to somebody who's cognitive, you're going to want to definitely give them the information. They're information people. So you need to give them the facts. You need to give them things so they can make sense of what you're saying. Okay. So if you stumble, acknowledge it with grace. A small mistake handled well can actually endear you to your audience. Showing your human side is critical because, I mean, certainly no one's perfect. And it isn't about being perfect. It's just about allowing people to see who you are. Now, I do have a funny story about that. I was teaching to, I believe it was the, the AAA group, and large audience of people. I went out on stage and I was really nervous. It was one of the times in the beginning of my career, and I was really, really nervous. And one of the things that you're always taught to say or taught to do is never to show that you're nervous. Well, what did I say? I blurted out, I'm really nervous. And so then I did something that made everyone laugh. I stepped aside from where I had been standing. I pointed back and I said, I don't believe she said that. Then I stepped back to where I was and I continued on and I delivered my talk. Everybody laughed, and I actually endeared my audience to me by doing that. So even though I wasn't in control, I looked like I was in control. So, excuse me. And you always want to get feedback after your speech. Always you ask people for feedback, because when you get feedback, then you can improve. You can see what connected, what didn't connect, and how you can improve what you're doing. It also shows that you're committed and confident in what you're doing, because people who can take feedback have a more confident air. So in conclusion, confidence in speaking is less about perfection and more about connection. By preparing thoroughly, understanding your audience, mastering your body language, and engaging authentically, you can build a bridge of trust and interest. And the PEP personality process just adds another layer, allowing you to connect not just through content, but through understanding the very essence of how people perceive and process information. Remember, every great speaker started somewhere. Confidence grows with each step you take towards your audience, not away from them. I have a gift for you today, an ebook which is a curated collection of wisdom from some of the most influential figures in history and how you can learn from them. I believe it's going to be in the comment section. Thank you for your attention. And next time you speak with your heart and trust your voice to make a meaningful impact. Aim not to just be heard, but to connect. Thank you very much.
Ooh, sweet. Nadine, thank you so much. But if you think you're just going to get off with just that presentation,
I didn't think that you'd let me do that, JB. I know you a little bit too well.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I think this is going to be, with your permission, what I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of go back to the PEP process just for a second. Mm-hmm. And for speakers who are starting out, for speakers who have been, doing it for 35 years, mm-hmm. you may not know the gem that Nadine just dropped for you, right? And being able to connect with people. And that's a systematic way of understanding how to connect with people through that process, right? There are people who hear things. There are people who, they're visual, they like to see things. There are people who like to, like she was talking about. I have a tendency to do this a lot when I'm listening to people. Can you tell me what's going on, right? I need the facts. Tell me the facts. And then there's, so those were the three. What was the fourth one?
So visual, auditory, cognitive, and kinesthetic.
And kinesthetic. So needing something, right? Need to feel something.
Yeah, they're emotionally feeling-based people. Yeah.
Right. So I want, if we could, I'd like to take an example, and we'll pick a topic, and run through how we would speak using all four of those mechanisms to effectively communicate with their audience. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. So let's pick a topic, and we'll say, I don't know. Would you like to pick one? No?
You can.
Oh, I can. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We'll have a conversation about this later on. Okay. So, but let's pick a topic. We'll talk about how technology is changing the world, right? There's a lot of interesting fear that's going on, a lot of excitement that goes on the other side, and you never know who you're going to speak to.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So,
I might say something like, so imagine that you're 10 years into the future. And, you have your robot that's watering your plants. You have, your business all set up so that things happen almost instantaneously. And, you have free time, novel experience, free time. Anyway, and just imagine how that would make you feel. Imagine how, you probably would be hearing different sounds. Even today, we're hearing different sounds like, but one of the things that technology is going to do is it's going to free people up to actually do things in a way that they have more personal time. And so I think that we need to, be aware of what technology can do and what it can't do. I think that, people are, afraid that they're going to be replaced. I think that they're just going to have to change perhaps what they're doing and do it in a different way. I don't think that any of the technology is going to totally replace us. But I do think that, and you would know more about this than me, JB, about the technology. I'm not surprised you picked this topic because you know how little I know about technology. Anyway, I don't know. Does that help you?
Yeah. So I want to, when I picked the topic intentionally because you don't know about it, to go through the process, right?
Right.
You went through the process to identify and create in the mind of the audience. I want you to think about what she just did, right? She took you in a journey into your head, had you paint a picture of what that would look like. Oh, you have free time. What does that look like? And you hear a bunch of different things that might go on. Right? I'm a robot. We're got these AI robots that are going to take over the world. Well, that's not the case. Because, and then she walked you through the process, right? So no matter what style you have as an individual,
and I asked you how you would feel about it.
Right, how you would feel, which is one of the things as speakers, we generally don't put all of these little techniques together in a way that enables us to communicate with people.
Well, good speakers, when they tell stories, they include all of those four languages because they bring the audience into it. Someone that does this really well is Lisa Nichols.
Oh, yes.
She can tell a story and it just pulls everyone in because she uses all four language styles.
Okay, so And I've met Lisa several times. She's an amazing speaker, but
Yes.
in addition to a speaker, she's a wonderful person. That's just who she is. She speaks
Yeah.
that way all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is there an exercise or a way that people could get familiar with the PEP process? If you're a speaker, you need to understand this. This is just like critical.
Maybe I have written a book.
Oh, you have?
I have written a book called Knowing Me, Knowing You, the PEP Personality Process. It's available on Amazon. And what people need to do is learn how to listen for the different language styles. And yes, there are, once you understand what the language is, because I give examples of what the language is in each communication style, then you can actually listen. And what I suggest to people is that they listen to one mode of communication, listen for those words in how people are talking. Only do it one at a time. So maybe you'll spend Monday listening for visual words. Maybe on Tuesday, you'll listen for kinesthetic words. Maybe on Wednesday, you'll listen for auditory words or auditory sounds. And then on Thursday, is it Thursday? Thursday. Thursday, you could listen for cognitive terms.
Right. I will tell you, having spoken to and made hundreds of presentations, thousands probably actually, when you think about it. When you get into a group of people, you have no idea where they're coming from. And what I can absolutely tell you is, if I had had this process, right, if you're speaking properly, back in the day when I first started, my success in presenting and convincing people of the information that I was talking about I would have been much more successful. This is a hidden gem, people. You really need to take the opportunity to take advantage of the PEP personality process, not only for being able to do public speaking, but in small presentations and in personal communications as well.
It works really well with couples. So if you want to improve your relationship at home, knowing your processing style actually really gives you a lot of opportunity to improve your personal relationships, even with your children. I am so glad that I had this when I was raising my two daughters, because they're very different, their processing styles, and it really helped me to know how to handle certain situations. So I was very, very grateful that I had this information at that time.
Well, I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to expose this gem of wisdom that you've had in the book and in your practice for our audience. So again, everybody, I strongly encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity. Go to Amazon, buy the book, take advantage of the opportunity that Nadine has for you in her ebook as well.
It does tell you how to get your own processing style, and you can get your partner to do it too. And then it's a working tool is what it is.
Right. And whether you're speaking or you're not speaking, if you're really interested in improving your lives and your relationships and your communication, this is the tool to do it.
Yeah. It's about personal development. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, JB.
My pleasure. Well, as we wrap up this first day of the Global Speakers Talk Annual Live Conference, I want to thank you, each and every one of the speakers, for their energy, and for you, the audience, for your engagement and commitment to growing as leaders and as speakers and as people. Today, we unlocked powerful public speaking hacks, tips, but processes and systems that will elevate our communication and impact. Tools that are essential to connecting and inspiring with others. So, but this is just the beginning. Tomorrow, we take an even deeper dive into personal transformation with the topic, Overcoming Mindset Lies to Achieve Goals. Together, we'll challenge the limiting beliefs that hold us back and learn the strategies to unlock true potential. So rest up, Reflect on today's insights and come back ready to embrace a new mindset. Thanks again for being part of the journey, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
Oh, a bird. Maybe it's about you. Me? But as I go along, I think like 3 hours away from home while attempting to speak a foreign language. Crazy, I was telling you right now.
Have to sign. We were going to do let it down. But what we do? I started working. So yeah, they didn't have a problem. But you want. If they wait.
I can't say enough about Global Speakers Talk. I've had the opportunity over the last few years to be part of the Global Speakers Talk summits. This is an opportunity for you now to share your story, add value, create impact, and also learn from a lot of the people that have been involved over the last few years. And again, I can't say more than enough. All the great things Global Speakers Talk has done for me, continues to do so for others.